There is a truth no one ever told you, or if they did, you likely overlooked it. Women are not truly attracted to what you pretend to be, but to the person you are becoming inside. You've heard thousands of tips out there: dress better, make more money, learn how to be more charming. These things might help you make a quick impression, but they will never help you sustain a deep, lasting connection. And so you wonder, why are there men who are average in appearance, average in wealth, yet they possess a strange, undeniable allure? Meanwhile, there are successful, attractive men who remain lonely or trapped in empty relationships. The answer does not lie on the surface. It lies deep within the psyche, the very place Carl Jung, the great psychologist, touched over 100 years ago. Jung doesn't teach you how to flirt or win someone over. He guides you to look within yourself, into the depths where true magnetism is forged: wholeness, reconciliation with your shadow, connection with your inner feminine, Anima, and the journey of maturation, individuation, that leads to becoming a complete human being. This article is not a formula to help you win in relationships. It is an invitation to pause, to look within, and to start building an attraction that requires no effort, a magnetism born from inner peace, authenticity, and psychological maturity. And as you begin this journey, you will realize you no longer need to seek anyone out. Instead, you become the place others are drawn to. 1. The failure of external tactics. Let's begin with a harsh truth. Most dating advice for men today is nothing more than a temporary game. The popular whispers say, just be more confident, dress better, make more money, hit the gym to get in shape. At first glance, it all makes sense, but if these things truly worked, why are there countless men who meet all these standards, wealthy, attractive, successful, yet remain lonely, or move from one shallow relationship to the next? And why are there men who are average, neither striking in appearance nor boasting grand achievements, yet when they walk into a room, they naturally draw attention? They don't need to brag. They don't need to try hard to impress. They simply are themselves, and that alone captures attention. This forces us to ask, are these external tactics truly the core of attraction? In reality, these tactics are like painting the exterior of a house, a fresh coat of paint, some shiny decorations, but if the foundation beneath is shaky, all that grandeur is temporary. That's why men who follow pickup artist PUA tactics, the so-called masters of seduction, often feel empty after every success, because what they're learning is how to perform. Carl Jung, the great analytical psychologist, emphasized, people are drawn to what they feel at an unconscious level, not to what they see on the surface. This means you can be well-dressed, memorize countless witty lines, even own a luxury apartment, but if inside you harbor insecurity, fear of rejection, or the constant need to prove your worth, women will sense it. Women, like all humans, don't merely respond to words or appearance. They sense energy, a restless gaze, a forced smile, a subtle eagerness to impress. These signals, no matter how well hidden, are picked up at a deeper level. And when the energy you project comes from inner instability, from needing validation, women, unconsciously, will feel out of sync with you. This explains why men who rely on external tactics often fail to sustain long-term, meaningful relationships, because they're chasing attention rather than becoming someone worthy of attention. On a deeper level, tactics are the symptom of a scarcity mindset. When you try to hack a woman's psychology with lines and tricks, you're telling yourself, I'm not enough as I am, I need a formula to be liked. When you flaunt your wealth, you're silently affirming, my value lies outside of me, not within. And women, they don't need to hear you say that, they feel it. In contrast, notice the men who aren't flashy, who may not have extraordinary looks or wealth, yet they exude a quiet magnetism. They don't need to impress because their solid, peaceful presence already speaks volumes. They aren't trying to win anyone because they aren't operating from fear of lack. They aren't performing, they are being. Carl Jung once said, you cannot awaken a consciousness by changing the exterior, you must change deep within the unconscious. External tactics, no matter how polished, remain surface level. True, lasting attraction arises from the roots, what happens within your inner world. This leads us to another truth. Real attraction doesn't come from trying to impress, it comes from unconscious resonance. Women are drawn to men who make them feel emotionally safe, intellectually challenged, and energetically whole. That cannot be manufactured through tricks. It comes when a man has faced himself, made peace with his shadows, and lives from a place where strength and softness coexist. So instead of polishing the surface, start rebuilding the foundation. Ask yourself, am I trying to impress, or do I truly believe in my own worth? Because real magnetism isn't something you create, it's something you become. And when you become that man, you no longer need to chase anyone, because your energy alone becomes the most compelling invitation. 2. Attraction arises from unconscious perception, projection. If external appearances and tactics are merely surface layers, then what truly governs attraction? Carl Jung offered a profound concept: projection, the process by which our unconscious mind casts the unrecognized parts of ourselves onto others. And this mechanism is the key factor that causes a woman to be powerfully drawn to a man, not because he is perfect, but because he evokes unconscious images within her. Imagine the human soul as a multifaceted mirror. What we love, hate, crave, or fear in others often reflects fragments of ourselves, unrecognized or unacknowledged. Attraction is not merely about seeing another person, it is about seeing ourselves through them. When a woman feels drawn to a man, it is not simply a conscious appraisal of his appearance. It is an unconscious process where she projects the image of her ideal man, her animus, onto him. Animus is an archetypal figure, a masculine aspect within every woman's psyche, representing logic, strength, protection, and the capacity for action. The man she is drawn to often coincidentally aligns with the characteristics her animus carries. But here is the critical point: the man must possess enough inner strength to bear this projection. And this is where many men go wrong. They believe they need to display the qualities women desire: confidence, strength, decisiveness. But outward displays alone can never trigger projection. Projection only occurs when a man truly embodies these qualities, not at the conscious level, but from the depths of his unconscious. His calmness, his steadiness in the face of emotions, his self-possession during challenges, these cannot be faked. That energy radiates from a place within where he has faced and reconciled with himself. Why can a woman be powerfully attracted to a man who seems outwardly ordinary? Because her unconscious mind recognizes qualities of the animus within him: a quiet steadiness, emotional depth, an ability to listen without judgment. These are signals that logic cannot explain, but emotions are irresistibly drawn to. Conversely, if a man has not reconciled with himself, has not faced his fears, has not confronted his own darkness, women will sense that too. Projection cannot occur because the ideal image within her finds no anchor to latch onto. At that point, no matter how intelligent, wealthy, or charming the man appears, her unconscious mind still rejects him. Carl Jung emphasized, "We do not see others as they are. We see them as we are." This applies to all relationships, but it is particularly evident in attraction. When a woman feels attracted to a man, she has seen a part of herself, yet to be fully expressed through him. He becomes a symbol, not merely a person. But this is also where much pain begins, because projection is a beautiful but fragile illusion. As time passes, a woman begins to realize that the man does not fully align with the animus image she projected onto him. He is human, with strengths and flaws, and if the man lacks sufficient inner strength, if he is not truly himself, he will crumble under the weight of these unconscious expectations. A wise man understands he does not need to shoulder the image projected onto him, but he must be strong enough not to collapse when that image dissolves. He recognizes that attraction arises from projection, but he does not depend on it. He does not live to become her ideal, he lives to be himself. And when projection fades, if the man stands firm, something extraordinary can happen. Real love begins. No longer projection, no longer idealization, but the recognition of each other as whole human beings, with both light and shadow. Thus, true attraction is a game of the unconscious. It does not occur at the surface level of words or appearances. It happens at the deepest layer of the inner self, where the unlived parts of each person meet. And the wise man does not chase tactics. He learns to understand and live fully with himself, so that the woman's unconscious recognizes him, not as a performance, but as a genuine anchor. Free. True attraction comes from inner wholeness. There is a type of man who can walk into a room without saying a word, without flaunting anything, and yet others instinctively turn to look at him. It is not because he is particularly handsome. It is not because he possesses the glittering symbols of status. It is because he radiates a kind of grounded energy, a wholeness that others can feel even if they cannot explain. This is the kind of magnetism you cannot learn through tips or seduction techniques. Because true attraction is not something you perform, it is something you become. And to become that man requires an inner journey that Carl Jung called individuation, the process of reconciling the light and dark parts within yourself. True magnetism, the kind that reaches into the unconscious of others, does not come from external factors like status, wealth, or appearance. Those things may catch the eye initially, but only inner wholeness creates lasting, silent, and profound attraction. Jung pointed out that each person carries a shadow, the parts of ourselves we repress, deny, or hide because they don't fit the image we want to maintain. This shadow can be anger, vulnerability, ambition, or even the simple need to be loved, and because we avoid facing these parts, they operate from the darkness, influencing our behavior unconsciously. A man who has not reconciled with his shadow may try to compensate with external things, trying to appear tough, trying to impress, trying to control everything, but the more he tries, the more his inner insecurity shows. And women, with their natural intuition, will sense this instability, even if they cannot name it. In contrast, a man who dares to face his fears, accepts the imperfect parts of himself, and lives in harmony with them, he radiates a different kind of energy. A calm, grounded presence, not because he is perfect, but because he no longer needs to prove anything. He knows who he is, knows where he stands, and does not need anyone to validate that. This inner wholeness is the true source of lasting attraction. Interestingly, women sense this wholeness unconsciously. They don't need to hear about your life experiences or the lessons you've learned. They feel it through the way you stand, the stillness in your eyes, the steadiness of your breath even in tense situations. It is the presence of a man who is not swayed by external circumstances, a safe place where their emotions can relax. You can imagine your inner self as a building. If the foundation is weak, you will constantly need to patch it up, reinforce it, and cover up the cracks. But if the foundation is strong, the storms outside may howl, but the house remains steady. Inner wholeness is like that foundation. When you reconcile with your shadow, when you no longer need to act as anything other than yourself, you become the place where others feel safe, even if no one speaks of it. And that is what creates effortless attraction. Inner wholeness also allows you to freely express the softer parts of yourself without fear. You can listen sincerely. You can express emotions honestly without losing your strength. You can be steady and yet gentle, led without controlling, and protect without suffocating. And when you live this way, attraction happens naturally. No forcing, no strategy. You simply are yourself, but a version of yourself that has reconciled with everything that belongs to you. This, Carl Jung called individuation, the process of becoming a whole person. And this is the truth that no external tactic will ever reach. 4. The importance of anima, the feminine aspect within a man. Carl Jung once said, "Whatever part of the soul you reject will eventually control you." And for men, one of the most frequently rejected aspects is their feminine side, which Jung called the anima. In modern society, the image of the ideal man is often confined to strength, logic, resilience, and unyielding will, soft emotions, moments of vulnerability, sensitivity. All these are labeled as weakness, as unmanly. As a result, many men grow up disconnected from a vital part of their psyche, their feminine side, the anima. Anima is not about outward femininity, not gestures, appearance, or the way one dresses. It is the source of emotion, intuition, empathy, and creativity within a man's psyche. When the anima is suppressed, a man becomes rigid, prone to either over-controlling his emotions or erupting uncontrollably. He may be outwardly successful in society, but inside, he feels empty, exhausted, and perpetually lacking something he cannot name. Jung recognized that a man who does not connect with his anima will seek to compensate by looking for it outside himself, through women. In other words, he falls in love not for who the woman truly is, but because she represents the part of himself he has lost. This is why many men easily fall into states of obsession, emotional dependence, or idealization of the woman they love. In her, they see the gentleness they do not allow themselves, the emotional vibrancy they have suppressed, the aliveness they have forfeited in their quest to become tough men. But this dynamic is also the source of pain and collapse, because when the woman can no longer maintain that idealized image, when she reveals her limitations, her shadows, or simply does not meet those unconscious expectations, the man feels betrayed, feels a loss. Yet in truth, that loss does not come from the woman herself, but from the weight of responsibility he has placed on her to carry the burden of his disowned anima. So, how can this trap be avoided? Jung pointed out that a man must learn to connect with his own anima, rather than seeking it outside himself. This does not mean rejecting love or women, but rather returning to himself first. It means daring to sit with his own emotions, listening to his subtle needs, acknowledging his wounds, so that he does not need anyone to save him, to fill him. A man who has integrated his anima is one who can feel without being swept away, can be soft without being weak, can be empathetic without losing himself. He does not fear his own emotions or those of others. He can be fully present with a woman, not to seek a missing part, but to share wholeness. And that is what creates lasting attraction, an attraction that does not stem from appearance but from inner sufficiency. Imagine this. Instead of needing a woman to feel softness again, you already had that within you. In that case, the relationship is no longer a compensation for lack but becomes a confluence of two whole beings. No one rescues the other. No one needs the other to complete them, yet both can grow together, dive deeper into each other's inner worlds without fear of being consumed or lost. And that is the foundation of a mature relationship, where both see each other, not merely the projected images onto one another. Anima is not the enemy of masculinity. On the contrary, it is the element that makes masculinity more complete, deeper, and more flexible. A man who knows how to integrate his anima is one who knows when to be strong, when to be soft, when to use logic, when to lean into emotion. He is not bound by outdated gender roles but lives freely, richly, and truly connected to himself. And from that place, natural magnetism, full presence, and enduring the lure begin to emerge. 5. How to cultivate inner magnetism. Most of what you've ever heard about attracting women revolves around external tactics, improving your appearance, building a strong image, making more money, and learning a few witty lines to start conversations. These things might help you make a good first impression, but they're like a flash fire, burning bright for a moment and then fading just as quickly. Sustainable attraction, the kind that not only draws women in but makes them want to stay, doesn't come from what you wear. It comes from what you've reconciled within. So, how do you cultivate that deep, inner magnetism? Carl Jung called it the process of individuation, a journey where you gradually connect with all parts of yourself, both light and dark, both rational and emotional, both masculine and feminine. It's the path to becoming a whole person. Step 1. Face the shadow. The shadow is all the parts of yourself that you've tried to deny, your fears, your vulnerabilities, the emotions considered unmanly like sadness, hurt, or even the need to be loved. If you don't acknowledge them, they will control you unconsciously, manifesting as sudden anger, insecurity when rejected, defensiveness when challenged. To cultivate inner magnetism, you need the courage to sit with these parts, observe them without judgment. Anytime insecurity arises, pause and ask yourself, what is really happening inside me? What am I avoiding? Only when you dare to face your fears will they stop controlling you. Step 2. Reconcile with the anima, the feminine within. Jung pointed out that every man carries a feminine aspect called the anima, the source of sensitivity, empathy, intuition, and emotional depth. But because society labels these traits as weak, many men suppress or deny this part of themselves. And as a result, they seek it in women. The consequence is that relationships become a place to fill these inner gaps, rather than a meeting ground for two mature souls. To cultivate true inner magnetism, you need to connect with your anima, allow yourself to fully feel, acknowledge your softer desires, and listen to your intuition without fearing you'll lose your masculinity. You can start with simple things. Allow yourself to feel the full range of emotions when listening to music, watching a sunset, or experiencing failure. Don't run from these feelings. Let them flow through you, and you'll find yourself stronger, not because you control your emotions, but because you dare to live with them. Step 3. Build self-validation. True magnetism comes from inner sufficiency, when you no longer need anyone's validation to feel worthy. When you know who you are, where you stand, and what truly matters to you, you naturally become magnetic. Focus on building a life with depth, where you nurture your passions, values, and personal goals. When you have something greater than just needing someone by your side, you radiate a steady energy, and women can feel that, even before you say a word. Step 4. Practice presence. A truly magnetic man is fully present in every moment. He's not distracted by insecurities or thoughts like, "Am I doing this right?" or "Does she like me?" Instead, he listens, observes, and responds from a deep place within. Practice presence daily, whether in conversations or simply sitting alone in silence. Feel each breath, notice every passing emotion. When you can be still with yourself, you can be still with others, and that's a quiet but powerful form of magnetism. Final step. Dare to be authentic. No roles, no masks. When you no longer feel the need to pretend to be someone else. When you dare to show both your strengths and your flaws. When you live authentically without fearing judgment, you send out a clear signal, "I am enough." And that creates deep, lasting attraction. Because in the end, true magnetism isn't about trying to be someone. It's about daring to be fully yourself. No need for endless tactics. No need to chase approval. Just the courage to live honestly, with all the light and shadow that makes you. You. 6. The ultimate goal. Wholeness and life purpose. There's something that most dating advice, flirting tips, or image-building strategies tend to overlook. Love is not the destination. It's only one part of your greater journey. When you focus on becoming attractive just to win someone over, you place the center of your life on something outside your control. But when you aim for your own wholeness, love, career, and relationships become natural outcomes of that process. Carl Jung called this individuation, the journey of becoming the whole person you were born to be. No more running from your fears. No more hiding your softness. No more wearing rigid masks to look tough. You gradually integrate all your opposing parts, strength and gentleness, logic and emotion, light and shadow, and from that integration, you enter a state of inner peace and groundedness that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. True magnetism begins with wholeness. When you no longer need someone else to fill the void inside, you become free. You love without dependency. You connect without losing yourself. Women are drawn to you not because you try to impress them, but because of the steady, calm energy you emit, the energy of a man who has made peace with himself. And most importantly, that wholeness leads you to your life purpose. Most men feel lost not because they lack romantic opportunities, but because they lack a greater meaning to live for. They pursue relationships, short-term goals, but deep inside, they feel empty because they haven't connected with their deeper purpose. Life purpose is not a specific job. It is an energy, a reason that gets you out of bed each morning with the feeling that something greater than yourself is guiding you. It could be creating beauty, healing others, building a community, or simply becoming the best version of yourself and radiating that into the world. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And when you live aligned with that purpose, you emit a natural magnetism without effort. Women feel it, not through logic, but through their deep intuition about a man who is walking his path. So how do you connect with that purpose? Begin with this question: if no one judged you, if no one expected anything from you, what truly makes you feel alive? It could be creating, leading, building, healing, or exploring. Don't rush yourself to have the answer right away. Be patient and listen. As you immerse yourself in the process of discovering yourself, the pieces will begin to appear. Your life purpose is not a destination, it's a direction, a lighthouse that helps you know whether you're on the right path. When you're connected to that purpose, every decision, every relationship has a center, a reason for being, and that is what creates the deepest, most sustainable attraction. A man who is living for something larger than himself. A man moving forward with wholeness. No one can resist that energy. Not just women, but the world around you will be drawn into your orbit. Because at that point, you're no longer seeking validation from anyone. You are yourself, and your presence is an invitation for others to step into that same journey. In the end, Cultivating inner magnetism is not about how to get someone. It's about how to become a whole man living in alignment with your purpose. When you do that, every relationship, including love, becomes a natural reward on your path. The paradox of true magnetism is this: you only possess it when you stop seeking it. Stop seeking approval. Stop seeking validation. Stop searching for someone else to complete you. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The greatest privilege in life isn't about winning someone's affection, it's about becoming the whole, authentic person you were born to be. When you step onto that path, facing your shadow, reconciling with your Anima, building a foundation within yourself, and living for a purpose deeper than your own desires, you no longer had to try to attract anyone. Your presence, your calmness, your confidence, and your depth naturally radiate as a magnetic energy. Women sense it, not through logic, but through their most primal intuition. And at that point, love is no longer a pursuit. It becomes a meeting where two whole individuals come together, not to complete each other, but to walk alongside one another. You no longer need someone to fill a void. You meet another person not to save or be saved, but to expand each other's inner worlds. If you're ready to embark on this journey, don't stop at understanding. Begin with small steps. Journal your thoughts. Sit quietly in stillness. Observe your fears and connect with your emotions. Let yourself become the man you would be proud of. And when that happens, magnetism is no longer something you had to create. It's something you emit as naturally as your breath.